SafeMusicList.com. Royalty-free music for marketing and promotional videos.
To call and to speak to Kelly, use these numbers. Dial 60547255765. Then dial the access code 608060#. Then to join the session, which will be awesome. Congratulations, you are now ready. Tell everyone we expect 1,000 people listening on their phones from all over the world.
This is a Pyramid One International Network presentation. Good evening, and welcome to Conscious Speaks. Let me tell you a little about the host. Her name is KELLIE J WRIGHT. You all know her. Tonight, be a part of the conversation. What it means to truly love yourself. Free of judgment, fear, ego, pride, and jealousy. She says, we learn to undo what we have accepted or taken on as part of our perception of self. We are free from negative self-talk. Start a 90-day transformation, and she will assist along your journey. Whenever two or more are in his presence is how this works. Kellie's ebook is how she walked her mind out of doubt and fear, one blog at a time for 13 weeks, into loving and acceptance of self. The first step is the hardest, and it will become a way of life. Once we know we can free our thoughts from fear, the work becomes a staple item to the goodness it provides. Life is a gift. So make sure you choose to wrap yours in a world that is created by and lived on your terms. KELLIE J WRIGHT is a successful radio show host, self-love transformational guide, business owner and voice, and author at www.internaljourneys.com. Kellie is on a passion-filled mission to help individuals discover their own truth through her actualized process called the 90-Day Transformation. Now, may I introduce to you, the audience, to the entire world, to the universe, to the light, KELLIE J WRIGHT.
Hi, everybody. This is Kellie J. Hi, Bob. How are you doing?
How are we doing today?
I'm laughing because I always take the long road to learn things, and it's I think our fourth radio show or our fifth, and I finally am using the mute button as you told me to do. The problem is I have a fear that I'm going to start talking and forget to unmute it. So I tried to be quiet a couple times and then I didn't.
That's okay. I'll
So
just don't worry. I'll either write to you or start going like this.
I thought I'm gonna
You'll
do it
look.
right. I'm gonna have to trust myself. I've been working with trusting myself a lot this week. What have you been working with?
We got a lot of crazy things going on, but one of the things is I think on Thursday, and that our radio dog is going to better places. He's
Oh, the
gonna
Rainbow
be
Bridge.
yes.
Oh,
So we're all kind of very sad, but what are you gonna do? Now
yeah.
this is my buddy that's been under this chair, not missed a show for 8 years.
Mm,
And he's 16 now, so it's it's about time. And he's given there's parts. I mean, let's just like us humans, only
yeah,
it's a little different for a dog.
yeah.
But I haven't
Now,
fall apart yet.
now, if I remember right, is his name Jake?
Yes.
Okay, Jake the radio dog. Well, Jake, I don't know if you can hear me, but I love you. I love you, Jake. I'm okay. This is going to sound really strange, but I don't believe in death, so I get very
No.
one of the first things I
No.
ask is, how old is the person or how old is your pet? Because we all have an expiry date when we come or close to it. We kind of gauge it, right? So
Yeah.
I'm always curious to know where we are in our journey when we're leaving, and I think about that with Freya. I try not to focus on it, but at her at 3 years old, I figure I'll probably hopefully get about as many good, wonderful radio days with her as you have with Jake.
Yeah.
Blessings to
Well,
you.
the way I see it is very, very simple, and you've probably heard me say this on other shows before. Energy doesn't die.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore,
Yeah.
that little bouncy little dog is going to be here for shows.
Yeah. He
You know,
definitely will be.
he even knew one host from another. He know who
Oh.
was who because I had animal communicators
Oh
on
yeah.
here, and
Yeah.
he was like he would just like sit down. The ears would go up, and you're like, okay, what's next? Tell me what I'm
Yeah,
doing.
it's funny what they do. When I'm on the phone with my clients, some of my clients, when I'm on the phone with them, my cat will come and he's a tripod, missing one leg in the front. No matter where he would come from, and he had to be in my lap, but I would just go, I think my cat loves our energy. And at first, when I would start, this was like years ago, and I'd be on my clients I work with for up to 2 years sometimes. So before we first started working together, I was trying to focus, and I would always keep trying to push him away, like I'm on the phone, and then I realized that wasn't what was supposed to be happening. And I started laughing with her. I go, it's like he's supposed to be on my lap when we're talking because
Yep.
it was just futile because I would move him down like, you're there, let me do this. And then he would stop. So it was this constant action, reaction. And I thought the only way to fix it is to let him in the lap, right? Then he sits down, he's happy, we're all happy. And so that's a part of trust as well, too. Trusting that the animals can guide us and know. No, they know so much more than us.
Oh God, yeah. Are you kidding? Oh
They're
yeah.
so smart. It's so smart. I
And
know
they
I'm
and they
going off
got
on
wait
a
a minute. Well, they also got big mouths.
yeah,
They
and
go tell
their
everybody too.
noses, right?
Yeah. No, they
Smell
go tell everybody.
everything.
Yeah. They Australia right now, and John is on here, and he's saying everyone is eternal, always alive in some reality, if not this one.
I love John. That is excellent. I agree. John. And it's been a thing that's hard sometimes for people because they don't understand that part of me. But I've felt that way since I was very young, and I didn't know why. And when I fast forward to when I had already downloaded the blogs that walked my mind out of darkness. I had moved home with my aunt for a while, and I was getting ready to transfer into buying a horse, living in the country, and then that didn't happen. And there's a whole beautiful story to that. And I ended up moving home with my parents, did my first 90-day transformation with the book, and it was like she gave me this book in between there. I think I talked about it even on this radio show. I was really frustrated with the books out there, and I needed something else to connect deeper. And she gave me Master H by Pensatia. And in the book, it said it was in the first chapter that if you believe this concept, that then you'll be able to connect a lot sooner and be able to have the experiences and the knowledge come through quicker. as it made sense to me, because I thought, why, I always felt that way, so I always knew things, and I knew things were coming, and I knew what I was doing. I knew I was walking a path. I knew that the path I was on was a learning journey, and I also knew I always tell everyone the second part of my life was going to be the best part of my life. And so but the book basically said, and it's a Rosicrucian mystic, the book said that believing this knowledge brings you to those gates sooner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the only thing I can say about that is, and so many people have different, I mean, we all experience things differently.
Right.
But I can tell you from experience, it's nice on the other side.
Oh, you remember? I don't. I'm always like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I have things to do here that aren't allowing me that access. I always laugh because I'm very audio. I see, I hear, and there's certain things that I know for a fact that I'm not allowed to see or know right now, because it would deter me from the path that I'm on, the journey right now.
Of course.
It would and so I just look forward to it. I've gotten so comfortable, I've learned to relax, because no matter what, I'm going to come again. and I'll pick up what I missed, but I'm a crazy Aquarius, and I say that in the kindest terms, because what I do is I challenge every thought to the point where I heard on a radio, sometimes I get bored or I get overworked in my transformation work. And so I'll say, I'm going to take my mind for a walk, and I'll go on to Amazon Prime, and then I will, go to Gaia or go somewhere and watch a documentary or a movie if I feel it from inside, because I know it's going to give me a message or a line or a sentence in there that I need, or it's going to recreate a moment to show me a doorway. But I remember watching some show, and it was talking about someone who had passed, and he had brought back some visions and told about the experience about when you die. And he said that when you die, you go, like you spoke about, through the tunnel, and that you see your life on flash, like you said. And then you kind of look at all the things where you missed those cues, or
oops.
Oops. And so this gives you an idea of who I am. I'm watching this and I go, oh, really? I have to wait till I die to do that? No, I'm going to do it right now. So I really decided I was going to do all that before I die, and I wanted to see if I got any extra credit.
Now wait a minute. There
years
is
doing this and reviewing everything to go, where did I find them, and how I could, and what I missed in each moment. And I do that. I did it for the first 3 years. Walked my mind out of darkness, and I processed the first 3 blogs that literally are stepping stones and a pathway, a school of thought to clarity for owning self-love, self-awareness on a deepest level, and then self-worth. Once you own those things, you give the keys to the kingdom. You can be whoever you want. Go create what you want. And so I'm just always challenging creator in the most creative ways, I think. I'm sure other people do it. They say if you've done it or thought it, someone's done it or is thinking it somewhere else. Nothing's totally unique. But in my world, I thought that what could be more showing extra credit. And I don't even do it for extra credit, but I just saw it and I thought, well, I'm going to do that now. Why would I wait? And that's what you could do when you free your mind. You can actually decide how you're going to create your life, and what you want to know, and how you want to challenge reality. It's all built on words, which are frequency and sound, and literally it weaves our reality. We see it from the inside out, is what I believe, and we create it from the inside out. So as soon as we change those frequencies on the inside in our words, how much can we change that, and how cool is it that we can actually do it? I like it.
I was going to say that we're so cool as humans, because like you said, like, why would I, want to like die to go see what I have to do?
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like, what am I going to do? Jump off a bridge or something? By the way, anybody that's listening to this right now, I am not saying go jump off a bridge. Trust me when I tell you this. And don't not hold your nose now when you jump in the middle of the ocean somewhere. Make sure there's something around to grab onto.
Well, I didn't think you meant that, and I think that our listeners are very educated, and I'm assuming that they don't. No, but I'm glad that you brought that up, because you never know. There's a song out there. I love country music. I love all music. Classic rock and roll is my favorite. But it talks about, and I don't know it by heart, but they say heaven's like a wonderful place to be, and everybody's dying to get there. He's like, well, I don't understand laying next to you, and if it's all this thing, but I always think the same thing. I'm like, that's where eternal life is. We're here to have fun and to learn how to master, our frequency, our energy, or love, or to be a good caretaker, or to give back, how to help free the energy here to balance it so we can move from love-based, fear-based thinking to heart-based. There's so many amazing things we could do here. Yeah, definitely. We don't want to push that expiration date. I mean, I'm not afraid of it, but it doesn't. But I always talk to God and tell him. They said, hey, as long as I can stay healthy and I can have my wherewithal, I'll stay here doing whatever I need to do for as long as I can. But I want to be healthy.
Just to remind everybody that to call in, the number is 605-472-5765, and the access code is 608060 #. Now,
yeah, call. I'm going to do it, Bob. Listen, call in, ask me a question.
Everyone call in, because I'm quite sure that a lot of people that are listening right now are sitting, because I can see there's a lot of people in there.
Yay!
All those people that who are listening to the show, somebody, someone, a person, part of the group has exactly the same feeling as we do, but possibly a little different. Call us right on the chat room. Tell us what's on your mind, because you may be actually giving a little bit of yourself to the whole world. You may have some knowledge that we don't.
That's true, and that's the beautiful part. When we choose to look at something, when we choose to listen to it, when we choose to read it, then that's something we are presenting ourselves. I have a very clear idea of how I see what's in our world. There's nothing in front of us that we haven't presented ourselves. And so if we're presenting it, I always look at it, I try to talk to my clients. To me, it's a flashlight through time from our highest self going, here, look here, there's something here. Or as you said, and it's so beautiful, you might be giving us something we need. Everyone has something to bring to the table. And because we're all so unique, no one's the same.
Not everybody, right?
It's that symphony of us, right? That soul streaming live that makes the grandest music. Mm-hmm. So if you feel something, even if you disagree, I always say, I don't take anything personal. So I love to hear everything, and I could see from everyone's point of view, and I love everyone, and so I don't ever judge. When you work with that day in and day out, it comes to a point where it's not even an audio thing. The last part of judgment that you will work on, if you decide to work on a master's path of enlightenment, will be your ocular judgment, because we're set up and cued from so many different levels of awareness and past, things in evolution, even from the way we're raised, with the way our brains have adapted to change to society and life in this planet, that you might be visually cueing up something that isn't how you feel, but you're reacting. And those are the last, what I think, and as so far as I've been presented, ways that you could work with judgment. It's not even something you think. It's not even something that you're being from your heart. They're ocular. It's something that your vision is catching, and it could be from many things. How we learn to describe things, how we learn to differentiate, how we learn to, through science and through human nature, judge whether someone's safe, whether someone is happy, someone's sad. I mean, there's so many levels to judgment. And when people look out at first and they want to start working on judgment, they tend to believe, as I and anyone did before you do the deeper work, that we're trying to cure ourselves of judgment of others. But if we're a mirror and we're judging someone else, then it's just a judgment or agreement that we have a inside of ourselves, I found, that we haven't fixed. And a lot of times it always comes back down to love or fear, and something that was misunderstood, or something that you've taken on or taken in from a situation that you didn't have control over. And so once we can learn to, quell those frequencies, to look back at that, like pride that's trying to protect you, the fear that's trying to protect you, the love that's trying to protect you, all of these things create judgment when we think that we're being perceived wrong, or we think that we're being misunderstood. But when you do this work, you free all those over time. It's a practice. And then you get to really start, you never will feel so free as when you do not take things personally. I was just talking to the play that I was in, Pride and Prejudice. That whole experience was just amazing, and I met some amazing people. And one of the performers heard something in the stage, in the crowd, and her, you know, it'll set you there when you're if you're on stage and you're trying to remember your parts and you're trying to, you know, be in this play, which is a moving, breathing thing. It's not stop, start motion like video. You could get thrown off. And she heard something that sounded negative, and the way that we broke it down was, well, you just heard it, but we don't know what it was said, who it was said to, and it probably had nothing to do with anything. And I said, well, isn't that the fun part? I said, that's the fun part about not taking anything personal. Mm-hmm. When you get to a point where you realize, I just heard it, but it may have nothing to do with me, you know, because you're in the audience and you might be having a conversation with someone. Have you ever done that where all of a sudden you get loud or it gets quiet and then everybody hears you?
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, you were talking about something completely else, but everybody heard and you have no idea what they are attaching it to.
Yeah, I have to be very careful of that because I have a very loud voice. When I speak like this, I'm actually almost, you couldn't hear me if you were 2 feet away. But that's I learned for years and years and years playing how to talk on a microphone. Because if I screamed on a microphone, then I'd forget about it. I'd blow this thing up. But if I'm talking like out and I forget, you know, like there's a lot of noise or something in that, and my mind puts me over that noise. There's people all over the place that'll turn around, you know, and look.
Right, and you don't know what they heard. I have a blog I wrote once.
Oh, I don't care what they heard. What are you kidding me? Hey, dude, go.
I have a blog I wrote. I was driving, and I was watching these people driving, and I was just, all of a sudden it came to me that, you know, people don't, I always have downloads about driving, but it was like, just because someone doesn't understand you doesn't mean they don't like you. And so what happens is there's a lot of miscommunication when people are trying to communicate, especially if they're not the normal people that you communicate with. And then someone misunderstands you. If you have a lot of ego and pride that is trying to protect you because there's pain in there, then that's when people blow up at each other, right? And so you assume that what that person not understanding you is them putting you down or thinking you're stupid or whatever you're attaching it to within your own way of thinking or whatever you've taken on or in your software that you're running on. And so it was really interesting when she said that, because I thought, you know, the world is such a precarious place. It's so fragile, right? Now, we didn't go much further into the conversation. She's a professional, you know, and she worked through it. But life is like, there's no way to recover. You don't know if what you're saying is going to affect somebody, but you got to be you. And so the best way for life to work is for everybody to not take anything personally. Unless someone says something to you specifically about you, to you, let's just assume it didn't happen or that wasn't said. That's one of the worst things for me in life. When people talk to me about other people, I never listen. If you want to talk to me about something that's happening, if you want to talk about things that we could create, if you want to talk about us or, you know, something in real time, I'm really good at that. But when people want to relay a conversation that they had with someone else about something, I already know that there's 3 different layers of communication that have been mixed up. It's telephone. People talk about it as a child's game, but it's truth. Everything that you repeat gets changed. Right. So you're not ending up, you don't know the emotion. What you're doing, if you listen to somebody tell you a story about someone else, you're hearing how they attached their energy to it. The person is gone. They're just a statue or a figurehead at that point.
That was perfect. You just said it. Attach your energy to it.
Yeah. And that's how it changes. Right. It's just, so you don't know what's going on. You know, someone tells you their story of someone that they heard from someone else. You're not hearing that person's story. You're hearing the other person's version of that story through their eyes, through their inner contracts, through their inner dialogue. So I always just say, if I want to know what happened or what that is, I'll talk to that person. Let's talk about you, right? Mm-hmm. And it's odd enough. I'm sure I've used to do it in the past. I don't do it now. But a lot of time, I think what I've decided people do is when we're not comfortable inside, we like to talk about other things because we're really not wanting the spotlight on us. And because everyone out there is a human trying, no matter who you are. And so some of us are trying harder. Some of us really haven't figured out that we could try. Some of us are struggling. And all of that is just where we are. There's no judgment. That's what I think is the beautiful part. That's the landscape of being here, is that everyone is so uniquely beautiful on their own journey. We're not all supposed to be in the same place.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're in a place where you don't fit, move places. It's that simple, but yet it's that hard because we have contracts that we've agreed to in life here in this realm that we live in that back up how we're supposed to act and be in relationships and how life is supposed to be. And when in essence of what I've come to find recently is the more that, and I wrote about it like years ago, but we're presenting ourselves things to help us wake up further is what I think. And, when we are allowed to turn away from some things to find peace and clarity to grow, we might find that it's really time to go. But we're not taught how to leave gracefully here. We're taught it's shaming, right? And if we want to stay if we can, but if you've done the work and if it's not a safe place to go, then you have to go. And that's part of boundaries. That's part of being free. And when you do that, and it came to me in a third transformation I was working with a client a while back because there was some deep work going on. And I was like, you know what? I was trying to help explain what was going on in the situations. And I said, you know what? It's not personal. It's just spiritual. Like sometimes if we believe what we believe, really, whoever you are, whatever you believe, if you believe that, then let's believe it, right? So if we believe everything happens for a reason, for lesson of growth or placement to grow more together, then one of those two things is going to happen. So either way, it happens the only way it can, and then we go forward, either together or apart. This is friends, family, whomever, right? It's really interesting because at the end of a relationship that I had several years ago, long time, someone asked me, well, how did it go? And I said, well, it went one of two ways. It could have went one of two ways, and it did. You just have to go, you know what? You can't beat yourself up anymore. That's part of fear winning. That's part of the darkness using our love and against us as fear and judging ourselves and people when maybe we were just supposed to meet for those things. What did they say? A reason, a season, a lifetime. Remember, there's this quote that you can meet people for. And if we could just slow down to really believe what we say we would believe, we would find peace. But when energy is really the ruling sector or scepter of our life, we should pay more attention to that than what we think we believe, because our gut will tell us every time, right or wrong.
Well, there you go.
And we can align our beliefs. A lot of times we're not being who we think we are. I mean, I know that was for me, and I this is not rocket science, and it's not brand new. I just have a different way of presenting it through my gift than others, and I've been told. So, I mean, I don't spend my time researching how everybody else does it, then I wouldn't have time to do what I've come to do. I mean, we only have so many hours in a day. I rely heavily on spirit. I trust that what I'm doing is 100% what I'm supposed to be doing. And when it's not feeling good, I know that I have to stop, sit down, and figure out why. And the 90-day transformation will give you tools to do that. It'll give you 12 tools that'll walk you back to your center every time, and with greater knowledge. It's really fun.
Oh, there you go. You got some people in the phone room,
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Usually you send me a little note. It pops up and it says there's a caller.
I did. You have a note there.
I was getting introspective, so I was looking down and within. Darn it. I wish you had something to zap me now.
Oh.
You just said, ooh.
Ooh.
I was thinking too deep. I need to sit down. You said to relax. I thought I was.
Yeah, well,
I'm just going to drink the coffee.
Have some more. Okay, who's online? Now I'm going to give your area codes to the callers that are on there. So when I say your area code, then you know who I'm talking to. Okay, area code 206. Who's on the line?
Diana.
Diana.
Yay!
Hello.
Touchdown, Diana. How are you doing
Oh,
today?
I love your show and your conversations. My mind is just going all over the place with so much to say. So just feel free to direct me.
Well, I'm glad that you said you liked the conversation, because I'm having one of those out-of-body experiences where I'm talking about so many things that you know at the end it's going to be good, but you're just on a flow. So
Well, they all
I didn't
intertwine
lose
with
you.
each other. Yeah, I mean, your whole conversations, they all intertwine with each other. You know, like you started out talking about trusting. You started, Kelly, talking about trusting self. That's what you were focusing on. And then Bob talked about, I mean, did you have your animal, Jake, did he actually pass away?
Not
Thursday.
yet.
Or
Not yet.
No.
He's going to the doctor's
not
on
yet.
Thursday. But
Oh,
I'll let the whole world in on a little secret. An animal will tell you, whether it's mental, telepathy, whatever you want to call it, they will tell you when it's time.
I believe
yes.
that.
We have had him for the last, I guess, let me see, I wrote a doctor about his condition and what to do about it a year ago. It took a year for him to turn around and give up. And he's not giving up, because he's going to come back and he's probably going to bite me in the leg when he's all done. But that's another story.
Just like it started, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, right. Because, I mean, even when I first got him, and at the first month that I had the dog and that, I was like, Jesus Christ, I had blood dripping off my hands from him biting me. I mean, literally dripping on the floor.
Oh, and you didn't give him up, and
Nope,
that's why he's been with you so long and so trusting. 16 years is a great relationship.
He's been the most loving dog, and I've had plenty. The most loving dog I've ever had in my entire life. And he never, in 8 years that this show is, now we're going further. But in all those shows, he was right here with me. He wouldn't miss a show.
Well,
He'd claw on the door if I closed it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You did say that you did say that energy never dies.
Nope.
And I totally believe that. It'll be 2 years, 2 years this Easter that I had my big golden retriever, Miles, had to have him put down. But I had taken him in like 4 times before to have him put down, and either they refused me or I just grabbed him and took him back home. You know, it's like, no, it's not time. But then finally he did look into my eyes, and he was so nervous and just so, he had so many surgeries, and then finally that was the time. But yeah, I still miss him after 2 years, but he's still here.
But
his energy is still.
You are so right, because you connected with the animal. And that is the same way that we can connect with the whole world.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, right, when you said that.
I read your mind.
Yes, you did.
The reason we feel like that is because we are progressing in our lives. We're progressing in our own energy field to be able to be able to do that.
Right, and that's because we have a lot of light workers here doing that work, and they have been for very, very, very long time. So,
I think it's not a matter of like convenience, like, oh, this animal is being inconvenient to me. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, you listen to the animal, and they tell you when it's time. They say, Mom, I really need to go. Like, it's like, okay, baby.
You're going to cry again, Diana.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
I'm
like talking about Miles. Diana has Miles was a golden retriever, and so her and Freya have a special relationship. Like, she loves Freya, Freya loves her, and they haven't even met yet, so not in person. So, you know, we are all energy. We feel it. We create it. We literally create our life through, you know, the matter, the energy, the whole frequency of this place, the grid that we live in. And it's really cool when you can actually see the results, whether it's connecting with your animal and having them, let you know now's the time. I mean, even like Freya is perfectly trained. But if I'm too busy and she has waited a little bit long in the afternoon to go back out or something, she'll look at me, she'll come up, and there's this one set of eyes that she looks at me with, and I'm like, oh, you got to go. It's just like, I'm sorry, I was sitting here thinking too long, and I know that look, right? And so
I've seen that picture before.
yes, it just looked like, oh, and I think that we as humans, because we've become so guarded, animals don't have that fear of being seen for who and what they are. They just are in real time. They literally are unconditional in real time. It's second to second. And humans, we've had to learn to adapt, protect ourselves, grow. And in doing that, we've learned to wear masks. And we talk about it a lot. And that's what mirror work is. Masks and triggers are affected through each other. And if that's the game, if that's what we're doing here, well, how fun is it to know that that's something that you can participate in instead of being ran from? Even when I knew my whole life how this worked to an extent, I never could have told you the connections that I have now. And that was from just the first year and a half of the work. But now it's beyond that. But I thought I totally knew. So, and which shows you there's always more to go. And it's just when we can drop the veils, when we're not worried about being judged, when we don't think someone's going to take something from us, when we realize if something's ready to go, it's not personal, that if things change, we could just adjust and not fight it. Then we can stop these mental wars that really divide us from our family, our friends, ourselves, as close as the same bed. There's no reason that we can't all disarm, if we so choose, mentally, to disrobe mentally and free ourselves from really the energy that would rather keep us, deem us unworthy. If we meet this energy head on to face what's keeping us trapped in the dark from ourselves, we meet the fear head on, it really doesn't have anywhere to go. It will fight you, but if you rail against it and you feel you're safe enough to do it, then you will break through. And you will find light on the other side of it that is more expansive and bigger than any fear could ever be. But it's being able to face it. Love will conquer fear, but you have to be strong enough to believe that you can beat your fear. And that takes a certain frequency. It takes a certain recipe. It takes a certain part of your life that you hope you reach, because if not, then you'll never know. And I know what it's like to beat myself up. I know what it was like to be able to maintain who I was for a certain amount of time, and then when lightning struck, to go, lose my mind, coping mechanisms, then regain it really quick. And like this roller coaster was no fun. And we don't have to do that. I mean, the work takes time because you have to practice it, but what else would you be doing anyways? I talk about this, Diana and I talk about it a lot. Right, Diana?
You are so leading me into what else I want to say, but if you don't want me to go into that, that's fine.
Oh, I want everyone to always be and say exactly what they feel. You know that.
Okay, so
that means go ahead.
Yeah, because I have no idea what you're going to say, so I'm excited. Yay! That's permission granted. Yes.
Mental wars, and I guess that kind of sums it up. It's like, okay, I'm not going to be real personal here, but I'm just going to give enough information just to put it in context. But okay, so I have this event coming up, and it is a medical surgery, and so I felt like I had done enough of this. Okay, I'm only in my second 90-day transformation, but I thought I had done enough of the work to, like when everything is going right, it's like, yes, I believe that the universe is working for me. Yes, I trust in spirit. Yes. But then when lightning really does kind of strike you personally, it's like, these fears come up and anxiety comes up, and it's like, well, I thought I had gotten farther than that, And it's like, okay. So I did a check-in with Kelly a couple weeks ago, and I just said, maybe I need to concentrate more on just like focusing on getting my mind together with my body and to focus on this procedure coming up to help me through it. And she goes, okay, you're on a break. And I'm like, no, no, I don't want to be on a break. She goes, yep, you're on a break. I'm like, no, mate, can I take that back? Like, I didn't mean that. She's like, nope. And so I had like a really crappy night going, oh my God, I'm on a break. Like, and yet you're never on a break from transformation work. I mean, not me. I do that 24/7. I can't help it. That's just me. And yet the next morning, I just realized how awesome that was that she did that for me. And I did get to wrap my brain around and my mind around to get myself together to go through this. So, and it turned out, that I was able to get my thoughts together and focus my attention, because our attention, what we focus our attention on is what we manifest, right?
Right.
And so I needed to get rid of that fear and that anxiety and focus my attention on the positive. So.
Yeah. When lightning strikes,
she's amazing.
Thank you. You're amazing. When it's one of the things where you mentioned it, you're like, oh, I thought I was further ahead. And the truth is you are, but until we can practice what we've learned, we don't get to be it, right?
I know, but it's so much practice. It's like, it takes a lot of practice to go through those harder lessons. And
the harder lessons don't come that often, right? You didn't see this one coming, and that's why you felt very comfortable where you were, as we all do. And then life really happens, and then we have to believe what we believe and dig in and go back and look at what it is we believe, right? And so, how do I practice being it? And the truth is, I would like to commend you, because you recovered really quickly. If before we did this work at all, it might have been months before you recovered from that, if at all, right? It would have been a different way that you looked at it.
I don't think I would have recovered at all. I would have been in a deep, dark, anxiety-ridden, fearful place. Like, I wouldn't have any of the tools to know how to even deal with it. But you just keep practicing, and it was so funny. I wrote a text message, okay, I've got it together. I am going to be cleared for surgery. And then you texted back and said, I am cleared for surgery. And I'm like, holy, like, what am I going to get my internal dictionary, right?
It was so funny. And she's like, I keep thinking I know this, but the truth is, that's how we do it, right? It's baby steps until we pull it back to the I am. And we do get to the part where it's I am going to be. And that's just a bigger pause in between. We're like, we don't want the pause. I am cleared, right? And so it's a practice, and practice makes perfect, right? It's like when I was in the play, we practiced and rehearsed every day. And I'm going to tell you, I missed a week of rehearsal, as you know, because of the snow, but I was able to be in the play if I made rehearsals the next week. And I actually beat my fear of the snow, and I drove through it. People thought I was crazy, but I did it. And I was like, I'm not going to be stopped from this. And I hadn't been able to practice on stage with my fellow actors and actresses yet. And so, and I've never done it from in the green room and back downstairs. And so I've always listened to everybody and been there watching them. And then I got up to the stage, and when it was my turn, I go out, do my part, practice. This time we were talking downstairs, we were laughing, people were doing their email, you're waiting for your part, to come up. And, I've been in many green rooms for musicians, never for this, right? So for music, you're not really missing a beat. This was like, oh, I'm having fun. Everybody's here. And then I got called up. And while I was running up to go up, I'm like, I totally discombobulated myself. I got to there. And I had been reading in between when everybody was talking and having fun. I was kind of like, well, I got to keep looking at this to practice my line. And then I noticed in the play script, the actual script I was reading, that there was some blocking that I wasn't doing because we had created our own blocking. But something in my mind said, oh, well, that's the way you're supposed to do it. So I got up on stage, and I did fine until this one line came, and I had switched my blocking, and I left my head facing left instead of right. I missed my cue to my line, and I went stage blank, like done. Like I was done. Usually they're like, And I'm like, no, whatever it called blanked out, I blanked out. And literally, I wasn't there with my cast for a week. They're probably looking at me going, is she going to be able to do this? And I thought, what the heck happened, right? I've been practicing. I know this. What happened? Well, you know what happened? I read something. I was in a different spot. My placement was different. I thought it was going to be the same. And I got up there and I ended up in a different spot and everything changed. And that's life. So what we have to be able to do is realize that does happen. How do we adjust? How quickly can we adjust, right? So as I assured everybody that I would figure this out, you know me, I'm driving home and I live within like a quarter of a mile driving home. I realized what I had did and I felt secure because now I had, this is anybody who's listening to, wants to do transformation work, anybody who's listening out there, this is really the key to transformation work. It's kind of like I tell everybody, you become your own master coder of your brain. If you think about people who write code for programs, I'm talking about my gift is to go back and remember everything. So I walk through these sequences and I find the point where it went wrong. I flip it. I literally flip it. I go in, I make peace, I flip it, I figure out, and I recode that moment from love, not fear. Not that it didn't happen. Not that, you're not changing it, but you're looking at it with love, not fear. And so at least that's how it works for me. And so what I did was driving home, I wasn't going to let this go because I knew that it was odd. And I realized that it was because I switched everything up, thinking I would do it better. But I forgot that I'd been practicing it this one way my whole life. Not my whole life, but the whole play. So I didn't trust myself when I saw something and it led me astray, right? So it's that easy, whether it's our spiritual work, whether it's, being in a play, whether it's trying to, sometimes as a writer, writers will throw themselves out of their sequencing. They're like, I'm going to go to a cabin in the woods. I'm going to get out of society to write. So we tend to, sometimes we do want to juice ourselves up and take ourselves out of a situation to create newness. But sometimes if you got a good thing going, why change it, right? And so my fear of wanting to do so well switched something that I was already working well at, and I literally had that stage blank thing. And so that can happen for life. That happened for you, right? When this thing came out of the blue, everything that you've learned and you've been practicing and you believe in, because these were your beliefs anyways, it just went out the window, but only for less than a day, right? So I was really proud of you, your recovery. I was really proud of you for, I was proud of you for saying what you felt and not telling me, because as your coach, as a guide, that's the parts that you don't want to say are the parts I need to hear, because that's the part that's going to help me show you how we work, how we change those feelings. And so as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh no, we're breaking it. And then you didn't want that. It was like, but no, this is what you're showing me, right? And so it took a little while to get back to a good feeling about that. But as you see, everything happens for a reason. And if we trust the reason as it's happening, like we talk about in placement, we will always find our way through, and sooner each time, to the point where when lightning happens, we are the calm of the storm, not only for ourselves, but for all of our others. And that's the beauty of this work. It's the beauty of your work too, Diana. You do great work.
Diana, you were going to say something.
Oh, I just said, yeah, I'm always the student that writes a whole bunch and then deletes half of it.
Oh, you just made me deep sigh.
Stop deleting.
I always tell, I advise my clients not to delete anything, because the stuff you want to delete is the stuff that I need to see.
I know.
That is pride and fear, and it will keep us from growing. It happens a lot of times. People won't say what they want to say, right? We do that in the second transformation. We talk about learning to speak your truth, not being attached to outcomes, and knowing that you're speaking your truth is more important than any probable outcome. No matter what the answer, some people won't speak their truth because they're afraid they're not going to get the answer they want. Well, that's just control. I spent my whole life doing that, hoping that something would happen instead of asking, is this what you think, or what page are you on? And so what I did was I led a life that was, and my relationships always based on hope, because my fear was if someone didn't want the same thing that I did, that they would leave. And so this is why it's really powerful. If someone's meant to leave, let them leave. It's more important for you to know who you are so you could be your truth, and then you will vibrate and collect and be towards those that are like you. And it's something that we're not taught. I never knew that either. So I understand that it may sound weird, but it's true.
I wish that we lived in a society that actually taught, and I think that we're working towards it, to raise young children in a more of a society where we are taught these things, where it is okay to speak your truth and you don't have to feel afraid to be judged or for who you are. You can speak your truth. But
that all happens at home, because home is where everything is. And what happens is how we're raised creates whether we're allowed to do that. There are some families that do that, right? And there are families within families. Yeah. You look at a whole family, and some of them are doing it, some aren't. It has everything to do with the parents and how if they've met their inner child, if they've worked through the parts that hurt them, if they've realized how they love, how they speak. And that's all for any parent. If you're a parent or if you're a human being that's alive, we all have this work to do. No one's immune. I guarantee you. If you talk to me for a half hour, an hour, I'll show you, if you're interested, where it is. And because I've been doing this for far too long and paying attention for far too long, and nobody's immune. We're all here to learn lessons. And that's why I said this is not a socioeconomic thing. It's not a race thing. It's a love and fear. It's not religious. Religion's been tormented by people, of course, but the basis of it is love and trying to bring people together. What it is, again, it's all love and fear. And it doesn't discriminate. Love and fear does not discriminate. It's how we're built. It's how this place is built. So once we can understand that
is what you teach. And it is amazing. It's just so huge to digest and live and incorporate within yourself, into your constitution, to change, to but it's awesome, when you get even little glimpses of it. It's like, okay, I get it.
That's the fun part. I've just been speaking to a couple people that have found me on LinkedIn, and one of them is, a doctor who has his own work that he does, and he's very impressed with my work, and he keeps going, everything you say, it's not woo-woo. It all leads back to science. I'm like, well, yeah, right. it's all the same. It's just, there's nothing that, my whole journey was to make sense of being a human and being here. And so physiology, our mental health, how we think, how we process as a human, as an animal, as a creature, as a part of the society, all of that has to do with our journey here. So that was just as important to me to study as it was, looking at religion, looking at the past, looking at history, looking at how the world was created. Technically, last night I was just laughing, because if I think about this right, there's not one book that, religious text that was written, that people followed, that was written in modern times. Everyone's been reading something that was written by people they never knew. And so it's just this continuous going forward, passing down of people changing stories. But the truth is, every story is about love and fear. It's about wanting to be able to provide. It's about wanting to understand and see what's out in the world. And until we can realize that we could do that in a winning way and not a hurtful way, it won't change. And so that's the question, And the truth is, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, as Diana can attest to, I will always bring my clients and myself back to this. The only thing that ever happens in your day is what you do. And if you look at what you're doing every day, it's not what you think you're doing. You think you're doing a lot more than you are. I know I still do think sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting here. I've been reading and thinking. I need to get up and participate. We create our worlds from the inside out. And the way we participate then is how we create that world. And so we can change the world, but only through when we change ourselves. We could be kinder to our animals, to the planet, to our journey here. But the world and the planet have been here a lot longer than we ever have. I mean, if you think about it, we're in a planet spinning in the middle of a galaxy, in the middle of tons of galaxies and many planets, and light years away from anything that we could even look at that looks like us. So when we can take ourselves out of ourselves and just become more in love with the process and be more at awe with the fact that any of this is happening at all, then we could be kinder to ourselves, love ourselves more, and really enjoy our life. We have a short lifespan here. It's totally doable for all of us to have a joyful life, to have a beautiful life, and to all be different as well. We don't want to all be the same, I don't think. But here I am just talking again. So
you have another caller, by the way.
I do. I didn't see your.
It's on your screen.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh man.
Oh.
Diana, thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, now, who is on area code 509? Go ahead.
Hello, you marvelous people.
Hi, is this Tim?
I was so blown away by you and Bob last week, Kelly, that I was bouncing around like I drank 3 cups of coffee. You were positive in that. Both of you got me running around like I was nuts for hours, and I couldn't believe it. Because
you
told me that
today. Timothy, I'm so glad you called in to share that, because I knew Bob would get a kick out of it. You wrote me that today, and I was literally, I was touched beyond belief. And Bob talks about that, about how the listeners and the energy and how it connects through the airwaves out. And I forget sometimes. And so after you wrote me that, I was thinking about when I go to visit my aunt. When I walk in, she has 2 parrots, and one of the parrots, Gatlin, loves me. And when I walk up next to him, he just full on, just all of his feathers, everything is like, Callie's here, you know. And he's got his own thing where he doesn't like to be on anyone's hands or anything. He wants his safety of his cage, but he just fluffs his plumes, the whole thing. And I thought, well, if that happens with birds, I bet it could happen with people too. So that made sense what you said. So that was really cool. Thank you so much. I'm happy. I'm happy to assist, a spiritual assist.
Okay, Kelly, here's my question.
Oh, you got a question. Okay.
Oh, boy.
What is this deal with goat yoga?
I'm sorry, come again?
He wants to know what the thing is with goat yoga.
I don't know. Is there one? Did someone may have mentioned that to me? Was that you that people? I know that I've heard this. I don't know who it was from, but they have baby goats.
Yes. On their backs.
I don't know what people are doing to yoga these days, but there's a lot of different things that go on with yoga. I'm a purist. I like hot yoga, and actually I'd really like to give a shout out to Sarah Whitaker. I just took her yoga class up here in Ashford, Washington, Paradise Yoga on last Wednesday, and I've never been more happy I didn't think I could be more happy to live here. But now that I have an amazing place to go do yoga with this amazing instructor who I literally had one of the best yoga classes with, I'm very excited. So I do regular yoga. I don't know goat yoga.
You know what he's saying over there, and I'm sure that he's going to laugh when I say this. I really hope that they walk those little critters before anybody gets on somebody's back.
I've seen a video of baby goats playing, and I'm telling you, they're the cutest things ever.
What, Tim?
Hey, Bob, mine aren't controlled very well. If they start climbing on the back, they probably poop on it too.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, man. They gotta take a walk before they do that.
I couldn't understand why they even want to have those animals on there, because my goats are filthy.
Good, they're good.
Terrible.
They're proper goats.
I
heard that there's fainting goats.
Last question, and then I'm going to get off.
I'm going to Google goat yoga. I'm sorry. I need to come up with an answer. It's not acceptable that I don't know. Goat yoga. And what is your other question? Oh, yep. Goat yoga.
Okay, last question.
I see it. Yeah, it's on their back.
Hold on.
The goats are on their backs.
Hold on. All right. Hold on.
Okay, who is the most spiritual person you've ever met?
Who is the most spiritual person you ever met?
That I've literally met.
Mine would be
my aunt.
Mine would be Sharif Samoy.
I don't know who that is.
He was pretty amazing. When I met him, the back of my neck all the way down my chakras was just on fire, like when he stepped in the room. But look up Shuri Samoy. He is incredible. He's dead now, but not in spirit, but he left the world. He left his body here and went to other places.
That is so cool. Now, did you meet him when you were living in California, or were you in Washington State?
No, I met him over on the East Coast.
Okay.
But he's got followers in the Fremont district in Seattle. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't met any of our modern day spiritual leaders. That doesn't mean that won't happen. I know that I almost went and saw Amma, and she is Amma who gives she gives hugs out. She's from India, and she hugs you with cures you with hugs, and you come and give your prayer to her. And she apparently when she was a young child, they found her sleeping in the fields with the goats and with the calves and the livestock, and she's considered like a saint or something, and I'm not sure, but I had a dream about her, and so I met her in spirit, I think, and technically that would be the most spiritual person I've met in spirit, but in real life, it would be my aunt. I'm going to answer a question for you here, Timothy. Who invented goat yoga? And it's the Michigan origins of goat yoga. All roads lead back to Michigan with goat yoga. The concept was started by Muskegon native Lainey Morse, 45, who lives in Albany, Oregon. So she started it. She lives on a farm with 10 goats. And we have her to thank for goat yoga. I'm seeing that there are videos of baby goats walking on people's backs when they're in downward dog and in cobra pose.
Yep.
That is just no. I don't want to do it.
I'm sorry. I'll take a chiropractor any day.
I love yoga. I do, but I don't think I want goat yoga. Thank you for bringing that up. That made me laugh.
Oh yeah. I'll definitely take the chiropractor. I don't want somebody in there going in my ear or something. You know.
They're so cute though. They really are. They are so cute. But no, thank you. So if there's anyone out there that has a question, I wouldn't mind you silencing my chatter today. I've been a chatty Kathy. Is there anyone out there that has a question? I put a question. I put out a post right before the show every time that says people could call in. Do you have a question about how to love yourself more fully? What is mirror work? You know, how self-love can change your life, how self-love really is self-care. You know, and even that's kind of like this grandiose thing. Break it down. We could take those and we could break it down. You know, if you have a question about a relationship you're in, I'm always going to show you a mirror and bring it back to you. If you are curious of why things aren't working, and certain things work, you know, if you're trying to attain a goal that you can't keep. I mean, some of my clients come to work with me and they come to me to figure out why they can't keep their issues with food, their commitments to go to the gym, different things. It all comes down to the same thing, that once we learn how to love ourselves free of fear, we can keep our commitments. We can make it to the gym. We can change our diet. We can see that, you know, how we treat ourselves is how we create our world. And so if you're listening out there, if you have a question that comes into your mind, it's a question that, you know, part of you wants to know. So they tell me this in school all the time. There's no dumb question, right? And the more that we start to ask, the sooner we'll free ourselves. We really will. I started questioning everything, and that's how I opened all these doors. I left room to believe that the answer might still be the same, but I was going to entertain the idea that I might be wrong. I actually wrote this down at the beginning of the show, and it came to me, so I guess it was a download. And it said, if you were ever going to take a chance about being wrong about something, let it be about self-love and thinking that, you know, it might not matter, because it does. Let it be about, you know, that giving up fear might lead to true internal peace, right? If you're going to take a chance about being wrong about something, take a chance that you might be wrong, because that's what I did every time, and it opened more doors. And what it did is it didn't prove me to be right. It devised a way for me to find deep inner peace. I found that when I let go of having to be right, that's when my inner clarity really started to shine its most bright. And it feels weird. It's unnatural to what you've been doing before. But once you start to work with it and you feel how it really changes you inside for your best goods, for your best highest interests, you'll want to keep coming back for more. Like we say in the intro, it becomes a staple item to the goodness you could create in your life.
Well, there you go. We are at the end of the show, but give your addresses. How can they get in touch with you? You're saying give you questions, chat with you. If someone wants to, they can go to her website, which is...
Oh, my beautiful new website, www.internaljourneys, and that's JOURNEYS.com. And that is going to give you all the information about me, my journey, who I am, now, and what the classes are, how to get involved. But what's interesting, I'm glad you brought this up. I think I have a second to say it. Internal narcissist was a name given to me from Spirit in a dream. And it was given to me about 6 months before I started the website and downloaded the blogs. It was given to me in a dream. I woke up in the middle of the night. I bought the URL, and I didn't know really where we were going at that point. I was told to put it away. And so this project is spirit-driven. People many times over the journey had thought I should get rid of the name because not everybody knows how to connect to it. And I said it's not my choice. It's part of the process and the journey. But what happened is Eternal Narcissist did grow up. Drowned metaphorically on herself and woke up in a whole new world, and so became Internal Journeys. And so last week I reopened the website. Now if you go to look for it, you're going to find over 80 to 100 podcasts that I created at my first 2 radio stations. I have over 250 blogs that I wrote and published whenever I felt like it, as I walked my mind out of darkness over 3.5 years. I think it's 3 or 4 years on that website. It's got a whole bunch of other information, and you could go there and really, that's it's my open journal to the world of how I lived and grew out loud. And it's Internal Narcissus, INTERNALNARCISSUS. That's Narcissus. It's a name. It's the name of a Greek demigod who drowned on his own reflection. And I used to always say that my Narcissus would have never drowned in my stories because he would have known that his true beauty came from inside, his connection to spirit, his self-worth. And again, I've learned along this journey that we all need to drown a little bit metaphorically to be reborn and find our way through the darkness. And that's what this process leads to. It's a rebirth, and it's really beautiful. And I encourage anyone who feels the call to reach out. Send me a question. Send Bob a question. The studio. We're here. And I really, really love what I do. I love my work. It saved my life. And I had a pretty good life, but it's way better now.
Well, there you go. And if anybody wants to write to me, to the studio, just write to Bob Charles Show at live.com. If you write to me and you have a question for myself or for my most beautiful lady on the screen, Kelly Wright, if you have a question, send it. I will send it to her immediately. It goes out 1, 2, 3. She gets everything. So all you got to do is communicate. Communicating with the world is 99% of what we have to do to proceed to levels you have no idea how great they are.
Beyond this world.
Beyond
Place
this
beyond
world.
belief.
And with that,
peace out.
oh yeah, I just want to tell everybody too, and if you want to call up, she's here next Monday. The number is 605-472-5765. The access code to get in is 608-060#. That's all you got to do. It's a 1, 2, 3. God bless y'all. Bob Charles, and Kelly. Out.